these fletchings don't come off. Like, they don't come off at all. And just like I was saying, this is like without cleaning them, putting extra glue on. It's just something about boning. I mean, I can't even try to do that. Okay, welcome to today's videos, boys and girls. We just launched brand new BeReal wraps, along with, we have heat vanes. We've always had X vanes, we've always had blazers. As you guys know, it's tax season. We've been doing this little tax series in between a little bit of hunting. We actually have been doing more hunting than we usually do in the springtime, which is really fun and cool. This is kind of the standard arrow I've been running for a while. My out west hunts, my moose hunt, it is a VAP TKO with 50 grain insert, 100 grain tips, right around 435 grains overall. And it's our BeReal X vanes in a 4 fletch. It's done really good. The only thing is sometimes when you get to longer distances doing target shooting specific stuff like tack or whatever, these X vanes catch a little bit more wind. We do have the 4mm, which helps, but the 3-inch X vane, high profile, it's really good for fixed blades and hunting, but I kind of want to switch it up, and I haven't quite done this yet, but I want to run these heat vanes in a 4 fletch. I've done them in a 3 fletch, but I want to do a 4 fletch. On a 3 fletch, I felt that sometimes, especially when running some bigger broadheads, they don't quite steer the arrow enough. But these, in my opinion, are the quietest vanes I've ever tested. Little stiffer material, that shield cut, super, super quiet. So I want to try them in a 4 fletch. This is what I'm going to do right here. These arrows that I have been running are a 350 spine. They're a V1 VAP TKO and a 350 spine. But when I went on Lancaster to go buy some, all they had were the VAP TKOs in the 300 spine in the Gamer series. So this is like the .003 tolerance and a 300 spine, which I have shot 300 spine before. I'm kind of like right on the edge, shooting 75, 76-ish pounds at 28.5-inch draw. I'm right on the line of you could go one way or the other, in my opinion. So I kind of have been wanting to scheme up some 350 or 300 spined arrows anyways. So we're gonna give it a try on this one. We got a fresh batch here, -2, so we got 10 because I fletched these out of some flu-flu feathers for a turkey that we just shot a little while ago. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna just straight up fletch these, and I'll kind of show you how I would go about this. So in the past, I've fletched them all sorts of ways, wraps, no wraps, but this doesn't have a wrap on it. Not installing a wrap kind of shortens the lifespan of the arrow, because if I were to go refletch this, I'll have to take a razor blade right to the carbon, scrape all the glue away, and you know, you have potential to chip the carbon, shave it down too much, make it look nasty, yada, yada, yada. So what I have done, and I have fletched at the tail end of last year, I did fletch up some with some wraps on it. And not only if you have like a high fluorescent wrap, like a yellow or a, you know, any bright color, it just, you can see your arrows so much better, and you can kind of color match to them. BeReal arrow wraps available in 6 different colors and 3 different variations as of right now. More will be on the site as time continues on, but we're going to show you how to install one of these bad boys. We have this one. I just made 1 arrow, and when it is fully complete with some heat vanes, it actually looks pretty dang dope there. This is not rocket science installing these wraps if you've never done it before. It comes with 13. We sell them with an extra one in case you mess up, because I mess up quite often at things in life and in general. And it's nice to be on some sort of semi-squishy material. Mouse pad works really good. This Matthews bench actually has a little bit of squish to it. So you're going to make sure that you lay this down on your table the correct way, and you can see the logo is slightly offset to the right. And we did that because this will fit pretty much every arrow on the market, 4mm, 5mm, 6mm, and it just slightly overlaps, and we had to offset the logo because of that. So what you're going to do is you are going to first roll on this side and roll into the logo, if that makes sense. So we'll set it up here. So we have our wrap. We want the BeReal to the left on this specific wrap. We're gonna lay it down. You're gonna put the nock on the right. And it's good, I just like to use this to make it straight. Then all you gotta do is make sure it's lined up correctly with the nock. This is why a mouse pad is actually really nice. We're just gonna do that, do a full roll on it. Then kind of just use your thumb, make sure it's all the way down. And I actually don't have a mouse pad here, but a mouse pad or something like that is nice because you get squish on it. And bada bing, bada boom. And I am actually going to swap out these orange nocks with some yellow nocks that I have here, so that even looks better. What I love about boning specifically these vanes is the material that they use don't really call for a like a starter pen or like an adhesion pen. You don't need to clean the fletchings most of the time, at least in all my experiences and everyone I've talked to make them stick. Other fletching manufacturers, there's some resin on there that they say you need to have like an accelerator or starter pen, and you put it on there and you do this and that. So many extra steps. The boning vane, I take it right, literally put the wrap on, take this out of the package. This is the Bitzenberger, tried and true, can't go wrong with it. Slap that bad boy in there. And just put a couple drops of glue. And then you run the tip right down it. Even it all out. And I use just Boning Blazer Bond. It's all pretty much the same. It's some variation of super glue. So I'm just gonna set that there like that. And you can see that there is the crease of the wrap. And we recommend, and kind of everyone recommends, that if you run in wraps, just spin the arrow with your nock in the side. So essentially you're just spinning your nock in the clamp. And line it up so that you're going to actually put your first fletching down that line, just to help, you know, your wrap's not going to come off, but it's just like another peace of mind to really make sure it doesn't peel or do anything like that. So here we go. Put it in. I like to use my thumb and index fingers right there and just kind of pinch it down for a couple seconds. You don't need to have it sit there for 30 seconds, a minute. It's like 10 seconds tops. And you open, tilt, pull. Bada bing, bada boom. That looks nice. Oh, you can even see the little bees through the vane. On all of my Mathews bows, if it's a zebra bowstring, so a stock bowstring, I use a left helical about like 2 degrees. It's about what I do. Now, I've talked about this before just in other fletching videos. I like using more glue rather than less glue because I really don't care about how it looks, if it's kind of spewing out the edges. I like adhesion. I was very conscious of that before, and I would try to use as little glue as possible. I'm not talking like globbing it all over there, but I would try to use as little glue as possible, and I would sometimes experience air pockets in it just because of, you know, the fact of there's just not enough glue. So now I just fill it up, run the nozzle down it, make sure it's pretty much all the way filled. No little air pockets. The air pockets is what gets you. And I really haven't had any problems. And if you want to make it more painstakingly boring and time consuming, what you can do even while it's in the jig is take either a little cotton swab or any sort of fabric, and you just run it right down the seam and you can clean it up. I never do that because I don't have that sort of patience. So I don't mind if there's a couple little glue things here and there. No air pockets. And I will say a good light is huge when doing this to make sure you're doing things correctly. So many times you like forget something just because of the fact you can't see. There we go. We got a 4-fletch. It actually looks really good in a heat. That's the first time I 4-fletched a heat like that, but that should be a sick little dart right there for total archery. Might even, you know, some out west hunting stuff do this if it has enough steerage, which making it a 4-fletch, it really should on a fixed blade. We'll see, but I'm gonna fletch the rest of these up and then we'll cut them and I'll show you how I do that. So we have all of our arrows fletched. Next step is to cut them. And I am going to cut these just a tad bit longer than my 350 spined arrows are, because if you make them a little bit longer, it weakens the spine because the weight is further and you can have more bendy bend in the shaft. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna bump these out just a touch bit more. I'm talking just like ½ inch. So these are my old ones. Put those off to the side. When cutting arrows, this is the D-Cut arrow saw. It's a really versatile, can compact down really nicely. I've had it for like 3 or 4 years now. We did a Lancaster unboxing a long time ago on it, and it's done me really good ever since. So there's a lot of good like DIY arrow saws that like 100, 200 bucks you can get and add to your archery home shop. But this one I really, really like. And when cutting arrows, you just want to make sure you put your nock in and it's all the way firm the whole time, all the way through the rotation process. And if you want to get really picky, some people even take the nocks out because as you spin it and oscillate it, it kind of like wobbles in there. I don't worry about it too much because I use a squaring tool after we cut it. So I don't worry about that too much. So put that in there. And then once we start the saw, you're going to want to push it all the way in. And then you're just going to want to slowly spin it. Nothing rocket science crazy about it. So you can see we got that good clean cut. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm just going to compare between my old arrows and my new arrows. Yeah, so you see it's just maybe a ½ inch longer there, just to incorporate and help with a little bit stiffer spine. G5 arrow squaring tool, it essentially has like this sandpaper type diamond grit sandpaper stuff over here. And then it has 2 contact points to make sure that your arrow is nice and square. So you slip it in there and then you just spin it while applying pressure down. What that does is give you a nice square contact point for your insert to touch. Now, it's not going to affect the straightness of the insert of your point, but this makes sure that there's flat contact on flat contact, and that just helps the overall strength of the arrow. If you hit something, it's not going to affect the straightness of the tip because the inner core, that insert's going to go into the inner core, which determines how it aligns. So, but it never helps to make sure that everything is nice and square. So we do that and tap it off to get a little bit of the carbon off. And we are good to go to put the insert in this, but I'm going to cut them all first real quick. Okay. Next up, we got all of our arrows squared. Now we're going to put in the inserts. I have a piece of Boning Hot Melt Blue Glue. This glue works really good for inserts that you may want to take out at a later date. All you have to do is heat up the insert a little bit and you can pull it out. And I'm not quite sure on this length. I might end up cutting them a little bit more. So I'm going to use this glue. If you permanently want to put your tips into your arrows, you can use some sort of super glue, or like AEE has this like black tire glue looking stuff, which is more of like a better adhesion. It's almost like levels of Loctite. It's, do you want red Loctite or you want blue Loctite? You want to take it out or do you not want to take it out? So I'm going to do this so that I can take them out, but it's still, they're never going to come out unless you do this process wrong per se. So you do need some sort of flame. I like using this torch because it can be stationary. With this glue, what you're going to do is you're going to heat up the glue rather than heating up the insert. It's a lower temperature glue, so it needs not a lot of heat really to get it melted. So you're gonna heat up the glue, put it on the tip nice and good. I like to put my arrow in my armpit so that it's at the ready, and then I'm just gonna slightly heat it back up to where it gets runny again. It cools really fast too. Just gonna spin it as you put it on. Make sure it's all the way down. Give it one good thing. Depending on how sensitive you are to heat, I just run it right on there and my finger's not burning or anything. It's a very low temperature glue to be melted. So clean it up a little bit more, but that's the tip right there. Nothing else to it. If this dries a little bit more, you can kind of just use your fingernail and clean that up. But you can also just shoot it a couple times and it'll be good to go. You really only need to wait, 10 to 15 minutes for that to cool down all the way. Some people like to dunk it in some water, some cooler water, which gives it like an instant, dries it or cools it instantly. But yeah, that's about it. We're going to rip through these. This isn't too long a process. It's probably the shortest of all the processes. And we'll be good to go. Okay, arrows are done. Now what we're going to do, I'm assuming these are going to be very close to my other ones because there's really not a whole lot different other than adding a wrap, different fletchings, and a stiffer spine. Yeah, 458. So we added about 10 grains just by adding a wrap and a stiffer arrow. I think the stiffer arrow is where most of that comes from because the wall of the carbon gets thicker as you get into a stiffer arrow. That's why it's more stiff. But we're going to take these. I think I'm just going to shoot at 60 yards here and see any initial, like if I'm like, oh my goodness, my group's like went shoot 12 of them inside that white dot, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll shoot them a little bit here and just kind of see how they do and make sure that no fletchings fall off. But that is one thing. Like let me get some pliers here. These fletchings don't come off. Like they don't come off at all. And just like I was saying, this is like without cleaning them, putting extra glue on. And I can even, like there's these on this wrap here. I don't want to ruin that one. Let's do this one. I don't even know this is a 350. I mean, these blazers don't come off either. It's just something about boning. I mean, I can't even try to do that. Something about boning compared to other people's veins is they require all this work and everything, but on boning you really just don't. Like, let's see here. Like that, I did nothing different. Nothing different was anything. Yeah. Stayed on a little better, but I don't know, man. Something about boning. Long time ago, when we tried everything, it was like these just make sense, and I don't know why. It's the material or the process. They just stick with very little effort to make them stick. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. Let's go shoot them. So I was messing all around with my sight after I shot my turkey, and I think this is back to where it was. I'm nervous. Let's shoot inside real quick. Let's do this. We'll do a quick 8-yard check. Ooh. That was a sensitive button compared to what I've been shooting. Hold on. That went way off way prematurely. Yeah, way left. Okay, so we got our left and right back good. Now we're going to just shoot at 30 real quick before we go all the way back to 60. Bingo, right in the bottom of the dot. All right, now we're going full send to 60. Okay, not bad at all. Just a touch right. Go get them, and then we'll actually be able to shoot a group, see what we got. Let's try to see how good of a group we can get. It's pretty windy outside. It's probably about 10 to 15, but that's why I like shooting outside or inside to outside so that I'm not affected by the wind and you can really see how your arrows are affected and everything like that. So let's see what we got. That was right in the pocket. That was perfect. I really think, this arrow build is tailored around Total Archery Challenge mostly. It's probably going to be the arrows that I'm going to be shooting, and especially the vane setup because it's the shorter profile, less wind drag, and just in a 4mm, any 4mm. But these arrows, I'll still say it forever, but the TKOs, that weave of arrow is the strongest arrow I've ever done. And like back on dealer tour, really what made me think that is when we shot the iron buck, and it literally bounced back. When you hit the iron buck, it bounced back, and all that was wrong with it was the mushroom of the tip. At tack, when you're missing, potentially, and hitting things, your retrieval rate and your arrow being okay rate is way higher than other options. Even in the, you know, other victories, not the weave. Just these are just tough arrows. Okay, that one low right. Could have been me. Okay, low right again. Man, I got a good group, just low right. The arrows are kicking a little bit. The next step after this is just to make sure my tune is good. And it could just be the wind messing with me. Yeah, if I had to guess, it's just the wind. I have like pretty good up and down, and it's just a little left and right, and I am just hanging on that right side. Yeah, kind of in a cluster down on the low right. But let's shoot one more time. I'm gonna give it a couple more clicks, and we'll be a little bit more dialed in the middle. Okay, so it should be pretty adjusted to where we're gonna be hitting the middle, hopefully. It is windy down there. It's freaking ripping past the barn. That sounded good. Oh yeah. That hit the white dot. So hopefully, I guess last one I hit the white dot too, but hopefully not all of them are right there. Same spot, low right. I'm still kind of just low right in there. Not bad. That was a long shot. Low right. That was good. I really think it just depends on how the wind's doing down there. Every now and again I catch it at a kind of more stagnant state. And then like right now, as you can just see, the wind is just whipping past the trees. Nice. Well, let's go down there and look. I got a good group, and then just a couple little flyers low right. Okay. So this is what I'm considering like my good group right here, because if a combination of it being a little less windy and a good shot, and then when the wind really hit me, it's when I got those left ones. So I don't know, it's not bad. Definitely gonna have more testing on this, but I'm pretty happy with that as kind of my first effort at 60 yards. And if I pull these out to make myself feel better about my group, I mean, all of those, if we were just a little higher, would have been in the white dot. So I'll take that. Just got to readjust a little bit for my yardages, get a new sight tape. But this setup is a very viable setup for arguably one of the more ultimate arrow setups for tack. Shorter vane profile and a 4mm arrow that's very heavy duty, because you will potentially be missing, because that seems like I always miss 1 or 2 times every single tack I go to. So thank you all for watching. Catch you in the next one.